You only have the power because we allow it.
Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller is back in the news. He has been arrested. He is in the brig for violating a gag order that was imposed on him for obvious reasons. Well, obvious reasons considering who's in charge, right? So you can't have this guy out there speaking truth to power, calling senior leadership, basically a-holes who don't have any accountability. Now, he would never use such terminology. He's very respectful when he speaks. He went out and put out a video a couple of weeks ago. I thought a very respectfully done video, but at the end of the video, he does bring up that he's bringing up charges. So I'm guessing this is where it's all come down to now. So he has had a gag order placed on him. He is now in the brig. He has a trial pending Thursday, and we will see what happens there. My take on this is kind of mixed. I love this guy. When he said, "Follow me," and we'll take the whole effing system down, I was fired up. Like, I got all motivated. I was ready to go. But I really thought he had a plan for this, and that he was planning to do something. He is planning to do something, so I don't want to say that he doesn't have a plan. It's just, and I could be naive, or he could be naive. I don't know yet. We'll find out in due time. But now that he's sitting in the brig, I'm guessing he stayed in. My question is, why not just get out, let them discharge you, get out of their jurisdiction, and then say what you got to say, start your movement. You will absolutely... There are at least 5 to 10 movements I could think of at the top of my head that if Lieutenant Corporal Stuart Scheller got behind would advance greatly. So I guess that's where I was kind of hoping he'd go with this. But he is dialed in. I mean, he is dialed in on the accountability piece where, this is not about Marxism in the military. This is not about... I'm sure that pisses him off, and I'm sure it might be a hidden, thing in there. But he's dialed in on account. He's just particularly mad that nobody in senior leadership has been held accountable for the atrocities in Afghanistan. I mean, the way this whole thing was handled was just a hot mess. We all know this. My only question here is the way he went about it. I'm kind of skeptical about that, but at the same time, let's see. Maybe he's got a bigger plan and it's me who's naive. I hope that's the case. I just hope that he doesn't open the door for them to throw him in the brig for, years and we don't hear from him forever. Because my guess is that's exactly what this regime would love. So let's hope that's not the case. Now, he went ahead and put out this video. I'm going to go through it with you and then give you an idea of some of the stuff that he's doing that kind of got him to this point. And then we can all, finish off, give opinions, leave your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe. But you could all leave your comments below with your opinions. Military folk, servicemen, active, veterans, you got opinions on this. I definitely want to hear them. I think it's great to share with everyone. You should all know that I am and Jack is very engaged in comments. So we will absolutely be happy to have a discourse about it. But, I think there might be some things that some military servicemen can and women can bring to this debate. And really, one thing that I would like to ask of the military folks out there, if you know the answer to, is gag orders under the military penal codes. Can they just slap a gag order on you like that without having gone to trial or anything along those lines? That's what I'm curious about. I'm guessing that they can, or this would have been a huge deal. So, but please, if you know, leave it in the comments. I appreciate it. Let's get on with it, hear it from him. And here we go.
To recap my position in the fallout of Afghanistan, I demanded accountability of my senior leaders. And I stated then that I understood that I might lose my battalion commander seat, my retirement, and my family stability. As it has played out, I have in fact lost all 3 of those things. Would I do it again? I don't know. But I can't explain to you why I made that decision at that moment.
And you see right there where he says, would I do it again? I don't know. Like, I think he would do it again in the sense of, I don't think he thinks he did the wrong thing. I think what he's thinking about right now, and this is just my take, is that there might have been a better way to go about it, that this could have ended better, but we'll see.
At the organizations that are so dear to me, the military establishment and the political establishment of the American government, I was seeing key leaders that weren't being held accountable and were abusing their positions of power at the expense of the everyday American. And everything that I fought for is counter to that. The future that my sons are going to grow up in is contingent upon the organization being able to evolve, which only happens through accountability. Update on my legal situations. The Marine Corps has offered me a very fair deal. Instead of court-martial, they've offered me non-judicial punishment for violation of 2 articles, as long as I'm willing to resign my commission, give up my retirement, and accept a general discharge under honorable conditions, which is pretty fair. But there's, the deal hasn't been signed. I haven't agreed to it, neither have they, and I acknowledge that making this video might destroy that deal. And if the Marine Corps, after this video, decides they want to go in a different direction, I'm prepared to go in that direction and see where it goes.
So one thing about this guy from the beginning is that he understands. Like, he's not getting blindsided by any of this. He's been around. This is not some young private that just got in. I mean, he's a lieutenant colonel. You don't get to that rank without knowing how these things work. And he's definitely aware of what he's setting himself up for here, which is why a part of me thinks it might be me that's naive and that he does have a bigger plan here. Essentially, I think what he wants to do, and again, I'm just thinking this, is that if he leaves the military, and again, military folks, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he needs to be in the military to press these charges. So, and he'll get to that in a minute, but he's gonna directly call this out.
Believe it or not, I don't want to start controversy. I didn't make it 17 years in the Marine Corps and as a battalion commander by saying whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. But as I sat here and looked at the fundamental changes that needed to take place in our key organizations, I just didn't see anyone else speaking up. To all the retired generals that wrote a very strongly worded letter to the current military establishment asking for resignations, I asked that those general officers show themselves, be prepared to give up their retirement and fight with me. If not, I do think that there are some inspirational voices.
What do you think the odds of them doing anything more than sending those letters are? And this is where, if everybody does it, we got something here. But if they all sit back, send their letters to say, hey, I voiced my opinion, and then accept the nothing that happens, we're in the same shoe.
Still left in the political establishment. Reference Congressman Mast, Congressman Crenshaw's testimony against Secretary of State Blinken. I was inspired by some of those lines of questioning. However, I don't think that their voices are enough to spark the change that's required within the military establishment. Hence the reason I'm wearing this uniform now and making this video, because I think there's a fundamental change that needs to take place, and somehow we're missing it. The reason I can't let it go, and the reason I am not just taking the offer and quietly exiting out of the Marine Corps, is because I feel like there are general officers in our institution that aren't being held accountable. Before I get into my way forward, there's one other comment I want to make, and that's to General Berger, the Commandant of the Marine Corps. General Berger, sir, your pivot and transition to the next fight, I think, is admirable, and I think it's for all the right reasons. But I offer to you, if you can't hold senior leaders accountable, then it's all for nothing. You had a predecessor that talked about an awakening. He talked about the role of the Commandant was to protect the very soul of the Marine Corps. But he focused on the NCOs that, in my opinion, have fought very bravely.
That's non-commissioned officers.
And valiantly for the last 20 years. I do believe there's an awakening that needs to take place, but it's not at the NCO level. It's at the general officer level, the people that are not being held accountable, the people that are leading this organization. And I ask that you use your leadership to do some introspection and look at the problems that are occurring. I'd also like to address General McKenzie. Sir, you made comments that are public record on August 31st that stated you made bad assumptions, that you left hundreds of Americans in Afghanistan, and then you itemized pieces of equipment that total hundreds of millions of dollars. I know you are a great American. I know you didn't intend to fail. I know you have served very honorably and are probably a great leader. That doesn't absolve you from the accountability of your bad assumptions. I am announcing, well, I've read the entire UCMJ in the last 2 weeks of my purgatory and all the punitive articles, and it turns out that all military officers are subject to the UCMJ. It's because it appears to me that no general officers are willing to hold each other accountable. I am submitting charges against General McKenzie for his bad assumptions.
Now, this is why to me, this is what I mentioned earlier, where he's pressing charges. This is the only thing that I could think of that would have him go down this road instead of just getting out and then starting a movement. Now, is that he doesn't feel that if he doesn't do this, or he feels that if he doesn't do this, that no one will, and that this is going to get swept under the rug. My fear is that this is going to get swept under the rug anyway, and that he's going to go under the rug with it. And that's why I'm concerned. But, let's pray to God that that's not the case.
Because I'm vindictive, but because the senior leaders need to be held accountable to the same standard as us. I will drop the charge sheet so you can see my legal argument on social media. I will route it through my chain of command. I will also route it directly to the former Raytheon board director, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. Then concurrently, I will file an IG complaint, and then we'll just see where that goes. Additionally, I'm starting a foundation to raise money through the Pipe Hitter Foundation. We'll drop the link. It'll be live on Monday, where people can donate to my family that's moved on to the next chapter, and also to raise legal fees for the legal argument I'm making against the CENTCOM commander. I love America. I love the Constitution. I love Americans. But we can't all be wrong. You only have the power because we allow it. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller, and I was the only officer in the entire American coalition fired in the debacle of Afghanistan fallout. I acknowledge that I should have been fired. However, the hypocrisy of the general officers who are not being held to the same standard is a microcosm for the entire problem that is going to bring down the great institutions of this republic that we love. I implore you, please use some introspection to fix the problem that I am trying to vocalize.
All right, so, again, we look at, when you look at him, he's respectful throughout, so he's not ranting, I think he's gotten a lot of the straight anger off his chest, and he's getting back to his normal self here, is what it sounds like to me. But, again, I kind of wish, I still can't help but think we'd all be better off if, and I could be wrong, but, in the end, I hope he's successful in what he's trying to accomplish. I hope he has a plan legally to really make these charges stick, because I can tell you the machine doesn't play. And the machine that you don't have to be active military to understand the power that these generals possess. And there's a reason why that got swept under the rug. Now, he's talking about this general like he's a good man. So this could very well be that he is a good man, and because I don't know him personally, right? So it could be that he's a good man, but his orders were orders, and he kind of just went along with the game. Either way, he needs to be held accountable. So let's hope, say a prayer for Stuart Scheller. The Lieutenant Colonel is put a lot of his life on the line. He seems like he's lost a ton. And if for nothing else, let's hope he gets some vindication. Let's hope we all get some accountability here, and that this goes through. I'm out.